Hey, what's going on? You know who it is. It is Bruce Jordan, the Michael Jordan Hotels, and today we have a man that needs no introduction. Greg DeShields, what's going on, buddy? How you
It's
doing?
going good. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Today we're going to be talking about travel and tourism, and we want to know what are the hot markets and what's going on in the tourism industry. How's everything going for you today?
So it's been really good. I'm here at the NABHOOD conference in Miami. It's
Mhm.
been a pretty amazing experience. I'm working very closely with a group of academics, with a group of about 40 students. The experience for them this particular year is really centered upon them having more hands-on experience,
Mhm.
understanding some of the specific components associated with owning and developing a hotel. And to that degree, when they hit Miami on Wednesday, they were given specific instructions. They have about 3 days to come together as a group. They'll do a case study and then a competition on Saturday, and may the best team win. We plan on giving them a great award as well as recognition, but it's been pretty exciting to see students who are seniors and juniors be motivated to talk about the hotel industry from the same perspective as a lot of the professionals who have been attending the conference. So I'm having a great time enjoying it.
Nice, nice. It is an amazing conference this year. I love it. I love it. I love everyone that turned out. The numbers are pretty high, and they have some great speakers here
They
today.
have, and I'm still um, excited about the conversation that Donahue Peoples delivered.
Yes, I'm a big fan. Big fan for sure.
It was great in terms of he explained what really served as the key that turned his next evolution, and how sometimes you look at horrible things that happen in your life and in your career that turn out to be the best thing in the world for you, and certainly for him it did. So, and I have to tell you, as many times as I've heard him speak and reading his book, it was probably the first time I really felt connected to him in a very authentic way, hearing his remarks. So kudos to him. He did a great job.
For sure, for sure. So let's talk about tourism. What is going on? Like I see things are shifting. Transit isn't as strong as it used to be. Of course, we have a lot of leisure, and then we got some hot markets that are heating up. So for 2024, what are the hottest markets that you've seen so far?
Well, I mean, I think it's important to put in perspective and kind of understand, the tourism segments,
Hmm.
because we still aren't operating at 2019 full tilt as it relates to all segments.
Correct.
So international travel is still one that is problematic. Some of it is due to the value of the dollar and
Hmm.
how it may not be competitive. A lot of it has to do with the visa waiver issue and
Hmm.
the amount of time that it takes to travel. So a lot of that international um, travel that came in from Asia has still been sluggish. There is a greater uptick from Europe, but in general, a lot of the markets that had developed very healthy and very consistent international travel continue to struggle. And there are some other things that really connect to that beyond the issue of visa waiver, but some of the challenges we have within the airline industry in terms of efficiency and the ability for there to be a smoother transition as we look at the overall airline infrastructure. But specifically starting off with a conversation of where we are at in tourism, I think we're still in the rebound space as it relates to international travel. The second segment within travel tourism would be business travel. And business travel is still somewhat challenged, mainly because it's a whole lot more convenient to still
Hmm.
work from home. It is still a whole lot more convenient to do meetings by Zoom or any other platform. So to bring back that vibrant or that lucrative corporate market is something that will evolve. A number of municipalities and cities in general are mandating more of a full work week, which
Hmm.
may help to incentivize more regular business activity to take place. But there still is that evolution of a return to normal business activity, which falls under tourism. The other, of course, is the transient market.
Hmm.
The transient market has been, without any doubt, the lifeblood of the return of tourism. Um, Individuals have had a great deal of discretionary dollars that were either saved up during the course of COVID, or they received relief money
Hmm.
that allowed for them to take that vacation in Disney once, twice, maybe three times. But that money is not endless. And for many who had saved quite a significant amount of dollars, there may be 2 years of spending,
Hmm.
which is beginning to balance out. And we all know that we still are dealing with some inflationary costs, which makes it more than likely that many have eaten into those discretionary dollars that were there before. So there's probably a bit of a leveling off in terms of the demand that you might see within the tourism segment. And then, of course, meetings and conventions. But meetings and conventions are vibrant. And I think that goes back to your point from the initial question is how is tourism? And I think destinations have really elevated the offerings that they have. They've gotten a whole lot smarter in terms of the kind of services and amenities that they're making available, the approach to be more welcoming. And that's not just large major markets, but it's also some small, like unexpected places. I still think back on visiting Grand Island, Nebraska, as well as Kalispell, Montana, which, by the way, is a fun place to go to in the middle of the winter. But these are places that are all exercising a similar strategy in terms of providing people the kind of consumer related experiences. And that's where you have the ability to not just have great destinations, but they have the amenities, they have shopping, they have food, they have great accommodations. So there's more of a competitive environment that will see various destinations become more preferred that perhaps weren't, just simply because there's greater offering in those destinations. But if we kind of go by the obvious, Florida is still a very popular destination
Hmm.
because sun and fun, without any doubt, ranks very high. If we go all the way across the country to California, Santa Monica, as well as San Diego, continue to be very popular locations. And there's a great deal of real positive marketing and promotion in terms of that destination being a welcoming and inclusive one. And all of these destinations have great new products that they have to offer, whether they're hotels or convention centers, or even in some cases, their airports
Hmm.
are new. And if we swing back around, cities like Chicago continue to offer great resources, and then headed back to the Northeast, New York, without any doubt, is just crazy
Yeah,
in terms
always,
of
always.
what they have to offer. So I would say, in general, with tourism, we certainly have had an opportunity to rebound in a very positive way.
Hmm.
But there are various segments that are challenged because it's not an even or a consistent rebound that's being experienced by all.
What about tour groups? Like a lot of hotels used to get this crazy amount of tour group business, and I just don't see it the way I used to pre-COVID. Actually, I seen most of them just go out of business and close their doors.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the idea of traveling as a tour was perhaps more generationally something that boomers did.
Hmm.
But as you think of millennials or Gen Z or even Gen Y, there is more of an authentic experience that might be pursued more individual, and not necessarily traveling as a group, but something where I could customize my experience to be more of what I want as opposed to prescribed. Because tour groups pretty much said, this is what you're going to do in the morning. We'll have breakfast together, and then we'll go to this tour, and then we'll stop and we'll have lunch, and then you go here. And for a lot of travelers, that type of regimented approach to their tour experience is just not really attractive. The ability to be somewhat of your own choice and your own selection and at your own pace
Hmm.
becomes more popular. The other thing I did want to point out is that there's also issues of accessibility, and for some individuals who may have some form of disability that might restrict or limit their ability to travel with a group, individual travel or individual like discovery is
Hmm.
more of a paramount to them. So it's a little bit more of a competition. There's still, it was funny, I was in Montreal not too long ago, and there were 5 or 6 buses of people who were taking a tour, who were all going to dinner at the same time, and will be done at all the same time. So that still exists. But I think a younger demographic certainly is looking for a bit of a different experience and perhaps one that's not that regimented.
I was thinking about now when you said that the Asian market for international travel has dried up. I do remember that a majority of the people that would participate in those groups were of Asian descent. So now it's like
Right.
really clicking when you pointed that out.
Yeah, a lot of the Asian travelers, especially when it comes to East Coast travel, inbound, they may fly into New York through either Kennedy or LaGuardia, and then they will build a Northeast corridor experience.
Hmm.
So their first, 2, maybe 3 days will be in New York, and they'll do the type of things that you would think someone would do in New York. And then from New York, they'll probably head to Philadelphia because of their interest in understanding what democracy is. But
Hmm.
as a destination, Philadelphia has created some great resources that can expand it. So you might do 3 nights in New York, and once again, this is coach travel that would bring, or they could possibly do Amtrak, but they could do coach that would bring them to Philly for another 2 days, and then they would head to Washington. So that type of travel absolutely is one that is somewhat limited
Hmm.
or at least reduced because of the challenges that would be associated with that type of inbound travel. There are many operators who still can make it work, but the volume is one that we hope through some of these visa waiver initiatives would change that.
Is there anything that you could recommend how hotels can supplement the amount of travel that they're lacking for the tour groups that they used to get, or maybe is there like a new dynamic or maybe a new customer out there that they haven't looked at so far?
Well, I mean, I think there is still a lot of untapped awareness of specifically the diverse markets. And when I
Hmm.
say diverse markets, it's not necessarily based on race and ethnicity. I always say that diversity is of about 19 different dimensions. So,
Hmm.
socioeconomic, it can certainly be based on religion, it can be based on age, it can be based on a variety of different things. And to really begin to unpack that and create new business opportunities is something that perhaps properties can investigate in order to make a difference. So, if we take, for example, an LGBTQ market, and there is annual meetings, and perhaps there's 15 annual meetings that might take place, but all of those meetings have planning committees that have to meet. A number of those organizations are represented by boards and committees that would probably meet in advance of their meeting.
Hmm.
Some of those are organizations that might be connected to sports, so they do competition that might relate. Some are in arts, which might in some way or another connect to arts and culture that take place. So within those various market segments, there are additional pockets of business, especially if it's only targeted to a property centric approach that would make it feasible for property to gain new business opportunities, even though they've already done some work in a particular market segment, but they could expand upon it. And that's across all different segments
Yes.
that I would suggest that they dig a little bit deeper and kind of have a deeper understanding instead of just a surface understanding. And it's not just about booking a convention, but it's also looking at some of the annual or regional meetings that they might be planning throughout those segments.
Nice, nice. Listen, thank you for being on the show. Listen, we're missing so much revenue. We're missing so much travel and tourism revenue that it seems like everyone's just going where the beach is or going where the great weather is, like, and the real business transient is gone.
I would also point out, though, that what might be a very unique opportunity, especially in this day and age where there is a lot of political discourse around diversity, equity, and inclusion, that if you're operating a hotel in a city or state that offers specific protection,
Hmm.
that you may be a preferred choice by certain groups because in their proposals or their RFPs that they send out for various destinations, they'll ask them specifically, does your city provide some form of protection or some sort of support for diverse groups? And if so, or is yours a city that does not have adverse legislation? Those things can be huge assets when you respond to that. So if you are looking at ways of leveraging just the type of welcoming environment that your destination has to offer, that can be a huge benefit that is highly competitive today.
Nice, nice, man. How can everybody get in touch with you?
So you can get in touch with me by reaching me at Greg DeShields, or to make it a little bit easier, just Greg DeShields at Outlook.com.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. And thank you for tuning in for another episode. This is Bruce Short, the Michael Jordan Hotels, signing out. This episode was brought to you by the Hotel Revenue Bible, the #1 hotel revenue book that has ever been written. It includes revenue management, digital ads, social media marketing, sales, catering, F&B, and more. Grab your copy today at hotelrevenuebible.com.